Are you ready to learn? Because my super experienced guests are ready to share some really valuable information. Make sure and listen all the way to the end to get help and support. So let's start with the best audio experience.
Hello guys, welcome to our show. Today we discuss about marketing products in overwhelming trade market when you have huge competition, big competitors, when everyone knows them. I don't know, probably Nike, Amazon, name them. So big competitors. And how to market your products and take your piece of pie. And I'm so excited to discuss this topic with Vakis Rigas. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing great. Looking forward to learn more about that because I often learn such issue. I have many customers. We are looking for ways how to start from scratch, how to market products when you have big competitors. So yeah, wanna know more about that. Vakis, before we start, just tell more about yourself, experience, background, and any information that can help our listeners to learn more about you.
Sure thing. So my name is Vakis. I've basically spent the majority of my career in B2B SaaS marketing, and throughout the latter part of my career, spent a lot of time working with startups and thinking exactly about this thing. So how do you get something to market when there's competitors out there that are way more well known than you, that have a much larger base of customers, and that's essentially like what I've been spending time on, like trying to figure out like how do you carve out a piece of a market for yourself where you're able to compete, even though there's like much larger fish out there.
Nice. And let me share my personal experience. For example, I have a son, 12 years old, and he never asked me to buy sneakers. He always tells me to buy Nike. I don't know why. For me, it doesn't matter this brand. I'm pretty sure that great sneakers can be in Reebok, Adidas, many other less known brands. But yeah, for me, quality is more important. But he tells me I need Nike. Can you tell you why? How to steal customers, loyal customers from big brands if they believe on these brands, if they trust them? Okay, these brands deserve this trust, this brand deserve authority, and customers have no time to waste hard-earned money with less known brands. So any insights what to do?
Yeah, so Nike is a super hard example because like they've built a whole story. So like one of the things that we can talk about is like why do they have such a good foothold? Like one, like they create a pretty good product, but there's also like you could get Reebok shoes that are arguably as good or even better. And the thing about Nike and in this space is if you operate in a space where you don't have any advantages, like literally none, like you can get a shoe produced in China that is as good as what Nike has. They don't have any special patents. I'm sure they would love to tell you that they do. So like Adidas once came out with like the power boost that everyone was raving about. Oh, it's much better. It gets much bouncier. But end of the day, like you can copy these things pretty easily. So in that kind of space, your only task is to figure out how can you create something different? How can you create something unique? There's actually a really good podcast on this. So there's a podcast called Acquired, which your listeners can look up. There's an episode on LVMH where they talk about this concept. And what was really interesting and stood out to me in that episode is like they talk about ultra premium products versus luxury. Ultra premium, you typically see them focus a lot on the features. So they'll promote additional features. So like Apple is a great example, and the example that they bring up there, where you buy a new iPhone, right? And then they talk a lot about like, the extra camera can do this, and you get a little better. And then Google comes in with their Pixel phones, and they create like a far superior camera in many aspects, and then they will start to steal some customers. But what was really interesting about this episode is they talk about the difference between ultra premium and brand or luxury. So if you are ultra premium, you sell features, they get better all the time, and then you sell more products. But with brands, you create a story, you create a lifestyle, a a world that you can become part of. And several um, there's several advantages if you can do this, because all of a sudden, like you can charge much more for your product. You don't really get any competitors per se. So if you've managed to create a universe that is so compelling that you want to buy something to be part of that universe, you're putting yourself in a much stronger position. It's something that's really hard to do, and it's something that Nike and others have spent literally decades building, and for some other brands, centuries. But you are putting yourself in such a strong position because no one can ever really take that away from you. And if you want to compete with that, you have to spend decades or centuries building that. So it's not something that you can do overnight, but it's something that you can build into your brand story. So like if you are not in a space where you have a superior quality, then you can build this superior universe. And you can see, like, it's super interesting if you look at the different, like for luxury goods, it's special because you have different facets, right? So almost different levels. You have Louis Vuitton, which everyone on the planet knows. If you buy a Louis Vuitton bag, it's really hard to tell whether or not you have a fake or an authentic Louis Vuitton bag. But it doesn't really matter because you buy it because you want to be part of something. And then everyone else will try to buy that thing. They might buy a fake, but they are not part of that society where you almost, or that world where you have access to something special. So you're pumping money into something that could as well be a fake. It's if you think about it rationally, it is crazy. If you think about it from the lens of, hey, I want to be part of this special community, so I'm buying this thing, then it makes perfect sense, right? And there's even, you can go a step further up where you have brands like Hermes, where it's not as easy to see who made the bag, but the ones who knows about Hermes, they know exactly what bag it is, and they know exactly how much you would have let go in order to get that bag. And then you become part of this special society. People who you want to recognize you recognizes you, and that's the power. If you can create something of that magnitude, then you're in a really interesting space, because it will take such a long time to take that brand equity away from you.
Mm-hmm.
And that is quite interesting.
Nice. You remind me my brother's wife. You know, when you mentioned about Louis Vuitton, you know, when she buys a new bag, I don't know how it's called, you know, for $3,000, you know, even more, it makes him crazy because he doesn't understand. He doesn't understand why any bag can cost more than $100. You know, even $50 you can find great bags. So, but when you see small bag for $3,000, yeah, okay, you know, he can earn this money. But he doesn't understand why he needs to pay for this. You know, even if you have this money, yeah.
So that's the interesting thing, right? Because she's not buying the bag. No one's buying the bag. Like, really, if you think about it, you would only need one bag in your lifetime if it's of high quality. Because if it's well built, it will last you, what, 50, 60 years if you take good care of it. So you don't need to buy more bags, but we do. And it's not the bag that we're buying. We're buying the community that we become part of by buying that bag, because you're buying the compliment that someone gives to you on the street. Oh, you got that. Or you're buying the envy that someone has when they see, oh, you bought that one. I can't afford that one. So that's it's more about that. Like it's this, we're trying to satisfy our ego, which is hard. But it gives us something that is much more valuable than a bag is, and that's why it costs that kind of money.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, let's talk about finding the right channel. For example, Nike can pay Cristiano Ronaldo $1 million for a post on Instagram, and influence marketing works well for Nike, many other brands. I think this brand has resources to pay billions, for marketing. Coca-Cola can, many other brands. But for new projects, startups, it's hard. It's hard to invest such money. Can you tell how to find the right channel? If you start from scratch, have no experience, anything, but you need to find loyal customers and convince them that your products are high quality.
Yeah. So what these brands are doing is they're buying association essentially to something. So like you're doing this to be seen in the same room or be part of Cristiano's life. So it's Cristiano is incredibly successful, built an incredible life for himself, an incredible career, and that's what they're buying into. So they want to be part of that journey and like see, like, hey, people who are successful, they run in Nike shoes or play in Nike soccer boots, and that's what they're doing. And you can do the same. Like, you don't need Cristiano Ronaldo to get that mass exposure or create that association. You just have to find good partners. So like some of the things that we're doing in B2B SaaS often is like you try to figure out what your ecosystem is. So if you're selling software, for example, software is typically part of the tech stack. So you have a tech stack to do whatever you're trying to do faster, more efficient, better. So your job is to figure out, okay, who are the winners in the space, or who are the companies that are up and coming in the space. And then you try to figure out if you can do some sort of partnerships with those companies. So let's say, for example, a Typeform. Typeform is a online form that is the best tool out there for that particular job. But if you're using Typeform, you're probably also using, let's say, HubSpot, which is a typical CRM that you would use as a marketer. By partnering with HubSpot, Typeform gets access to customers that they didn't already have access to through HubSpot, and HubSpot gets access to customers that they didn't have access to, that Typeform has access to. So it's kind of you're creating win-win situations where you get exposure to the group of people that you want, and you're creating almost like an endorsement for each other. So like, okay, if you're using HubSpot users tend to use Typeform, and the other way around. So you're creating like almost like a clique of software that just creates a lot of waves in the market. And it's a great and easy way to kind of break through into a market, and also like establish that initial trust, which is really difficult if you're running a startup.
Yeah, awesome, got it. I love kids, I I often get this the same sound, So yeah, but it shows that everything is live, because I found that, for example, when I listen to Gary Vee podcast, I can feel it. He doesn't care a lot about sounds. He doesn't care a lot about many other things, but he cares about value. If he can share value, it's more important for audience. Yeah, I agree with this format as well. And I have the question about choosing the right channel. Marketing is huge. Many different channels, digital marketing, SEO, paid marketing, webinars, social media, many different channels. And can you tell how to choose the right one? If you start from scratch, okay, I am sure I have high quality product. Probably I can assume what my target audience is, but how to find the channel to market your products? Yeah.
I'm happy you said one. Like I think many of us, we have a tendency to try just like go and do everything, right? We want to like, okay, I have this budget. We're gonna set up like multiple campaigns across multiple channels, and it's usually like not super effective because like you have only so much money, and especially if you're a startup, you don't have a lot of them. So what you really need to figure out is like, okay, where do I have the most impact? The way I go about it is I do one thing at a time. So instead of starting Facebook campaigns, LinkedIn campaigns, Google, TikTok, what have you, I try one at a time. And I basically just go about it in a very scientific way. I write up a document, state very clearly what it is I'm trying to achieve. And then I write up some hypotheses. So, hey, I expect that by doing X, I get Z. And by doing that, I kind of hold myself accountable to a certain target. And it's also very easy for me to go back, review, and say, okay, did I do everything I could to achieve this? If I didn't, then I would iterate and make sure that I do the things that is missing. And if I have, then it's super easy for me to just quit it and say, okay, not for now. Push to the side. Let's not focus on this. Because it's more important to get one channel working than have seven that doesn't. You'll get to the second, but just get the first right and spend some time on it. Dive deeper into, okay, how do I make this ultra efficient to the point where you can basically achieve your targets with one channel. And once you're there, you're happy, you can set up an org around it if that is what makes sense, because then you'll constantly have someone focusing on that bit that works, and then you can take your resources and focus on all the things that do not work yet and try to get them to work, or identify others that will. So that's typically how I would go about it. Just be very clear about your goals going in, and then test and iterate.
Nice. Yeah, I agree. Focusing is very important. I remember in 2020, I decided to grow on all social media: Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, many others. And I failed. I failed because I tried to repurpose content everywhere without engaging with the audience. And it's hard. It's hard. Then I switch all my attention to LinkedIn to grow my audience. And I found that focusing works well. When you don't try to be jack of all trades, to cover all social media. And I found many great influencers. They usually start from one social media. When they have resources, they can extend to other social media platforms by using resources, by hiring new people, experts who can help them, like Charlie D'Amelio. She started on TikTok, then grew on YouTube, Instagram, many other great examples, including Gary Vee. Gary Vee started on Twitter. He posted on Twitter. Then he paid attention to YouTube, Facebook, and today he has a team that can help him, to cover all social media to get this real good success. So he deserved the success, but he started on Twitter by replying to all tweets about wine for 7 years, as he shared this story many times. And I'm interested about B2B. You mentioned that you focus to B2B. Can you tell what is the main difference between B2B and B2C? Because I see when people use the same marketing, the same methods to satisfy B2B and B2C. Once I spoke with I spoke with one webmaster, and he told me in the end we reaching out to a human being. Yes, that's okay. You're reaching out to human being, but this human being needs to transfer data to decision makers, to a team. So any tips how to do it differently and to grow on B2B?
Yeah, sure. So there's different components, right? Like, yes, we're marketing to the same people. So like TikTok, let me go back. So there's this notion that TikTok is not a good channel for B2B. But to be honest, like it's not true. It can work as a channel. It's not the channel, it's the people that you're reaching out to. When the people that you're reaching out to, it's not like they clock off at like 5 p.m. and then when they're on TikTok, they don't think work. Everyone thinks work all the time. Like we're wired to do so. But the different levels that I see that are slightly different is like, okay, which space are you operating in? Because B2B is many things. Are you S&P, mid-market, enterprise? It matters a lot, because when you're talking to an enterprise, your sales cycles are much longer. You tend to have a lot more stakeholders that you're selling into, and it's not always like what you think that will make the sale. So that's a completely different beast. If we look at mid-market S&Ps, where the average contract value or ACV is typically quite low, then it's different. Then it's almost as B2C. Like there's not much difference. You're still communicating to humans. I think in both scenarios, one really good trick is to try to figure out how you can resonate with them, because like with B2C, like it might be that Nike sneaker that gets you out of the chair. Why does it get you out of the chair? That's the question that you need to answer before you start talking to people, because that's where you can go in and really engage them in a much different way. So I don't know if you are familiar with Intercom, the chatbot. They, at their marketing team, they had a cool image of like bike parts, and then on the other side there was a bike, and underneath the bike parts it says, "We do not sell this, we sell this under the bike." So they're selling the bike, they're not necessarily selling the bike parts. And what most marketers tend to focus on is the bike parts. So the Nike shoe can, like, it's made with this fantastic rubber, it'll make you jump higher, whereas that's not what they're buying. Some, yes, of course, are buying that, but most people, they tend to buy what that Nike shoe can make them do or make them become part of. And that's really what you should focus on, both, in my opinion, in D2C and B2B. D2C, depending on like what line you're in, if you're selling ultra low value products, then I mean you might want to focus more on the price and like, hey, get it now, urgency, all that stuff. But for higher ticket items, it's a lot about like who can you become by getting this. So can you become better at your job? Can you get promoted? All of those like more we call it emotional needs and wants. Those are some of the things that you will typically, if you're effective, you'll be good at doing that, because those are some of the triggers that helps the sale even more across the line. And then, like, of course, you should always also think about like, okay, like can the person actually like achieve that particular thing, not just talk about what they can become, but make sure you help them and get to that place. So I think that that's one of the things where it's slightly different, because like in B2B, typically most of these are recurring payments. So you'll want to engage your customers much more. So you think, instead of just thinking about the transaction, you think about the lifetime of the customer. So you help them basically, like, yeah, you sell them the shoe, but then you also teach them how to maintain the shoe. You teach them how to use the shoe. So you spend a lot more efforts in post sale than you would in D2C. So I think that's probably the largest difference between the two. But again, it depends on what product you're selling. There's also subscription things for D2C, like toothbrush. Maybe you'll want people to like do more dental work in some way, shape, or form. And then by doing that and constantly being there, you could extend the lifetime value of that customer.
Yeah, yeah. By the way, I like this lifetime value because today, for example, 12 years ago, I set up Google Ads and Facebook Ads myself. I didn't ask specialists to help me with that because I paid 5-10 cents per click. Not a lot. And it worked. It worked well. I didn't consider a buying persona, but today I need to pay $5-10, 100 times more. So a lot. That's why I think today it's a must-have, to consider such metrics like lifetime value, like buying persona, because we need to pay a lot more. And it's not like to invest $1 to get $2 back. Sometimes we can't get even dollar back, but if your customer will bring other customers, word of mouth, if your customer will buy more time, so yeah, you can get $2 and more back. So yeah, I made this mistake. By the way, I don't know why I share all my mistakes here. I do, in my life. Okay, I want to be honest. I do a lot of mistakes. For me, it's really hard to count all these mistakes. I keep doing them, but how you can learn another way? I don't know, because if you read best practices, you need to test, experiment to find what actually works for you. So that's okay, in marketing to do mistakes. Sometimes it's costly. You need to pay for this mistake. Sometimes not. You can just spend your time, but yeah, it's part of the process. Okay. If I started to share my mistakes, can you list mistakes that other companies still do in your experience, and how to find a much better way?
Yeah, overcomplicate things. I think most companies out there today, they have a tendency of trying to explain everything that they can do, everything that they are in one place. So like if you go to the homepage, oh, we have these like million solutions. Here they are listed in detail.
Yeah.
It's super tough. Like like as a customer, you go in, you see that, you're like, oh. And in many cases, you go into a website, you know exactly what you need, you know what the company is, and then you go in and then you get a little confused. Like, I'm not sure, is this the right one? So like it can be very confusing. So like most companies, like, they need to be much more specific. Like it's always better if you are specific about what you do, and also if you understand what your priority is. So what is the number one thing that you're focusing on? That's the story that you tell. Everything else you can do later. That's again the life cycle that I spoke about. Like you start in one place, you get them in the door, and then slowly you will you'll start to 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 get them familiarized with your product, understanding the true value. But it's a process, right? Like it's if you buy a new house or a new apartment, you don't like it's not like you move in and then everything's perfect and you know exactly how to decorate it. You move things around and then you make it better and then you make it more homely. And that's the same thing that you need to do from the lens of a marketer. You figure out, how do we get them in the door? And then, okay, how do we decorate the first room and only focus on that? And then they start to see value. And then you go to the next room. And that's one of the things that like many companies fail. That's one area. The other area is just the writing. Like I think we could do everyone a favor by just thinking a little more about how we write. So we have a tendency of like making things or sentences way too long. There's a couple of tricks that you can do to prevent this. One of them is like stop using filler words. So you don't have to say very. You can just say it as it is. So whatever you're trying to communicate, get rid of all the fluff. Just say it as it is, because it is way easier to understand what you provide. And then later on you can tell them whatever else you want, but you're not going to sell to someone if you try to sell them the whole thing that you can do. That's one thing I've experienced in many of the companies I've been working at, where the sales team go out with a pitch deck. It's like 40 slides long. That's never going to work. Never. Because people fall asleep during these presentations. They give up. They don't listen because it's too much. So let's just keep it to the core message. What are you looking for? And then you address that. And that could be different things, right? So I'm not saying that you shouldn't sell the things that you have in your store. You should figure out what the customer needs, and then you sell to that need. And then once they're in the door, you work on them for phase 2, which is enabling other needs.
Awesome. Yeah, simplicity is key. And you remind me apple.com. Now, when I open this website, I don't see in the first visible screen MacBook, AirPod, Apple Watch. I love Apple. I buy a lot of Apple products, but in the first screen, I can see Apple iPhone, because iPhone is responsible for 40%, even more, of all Apple sales. So Apple pays attention to priorities, to best-selling product, and you can find MacBook, AirPod, Apple Watch if you open other pages on apple.com. But Apple doesn't try to sell you anything. And yeah, I see this issue as well when websites add almost all their products in a homepage. I don't know why you need to do it. Once I read a study that was probably cheese. I don't remember exactly what kind of product, but in store, when you buy products, you can see some desk when you can try something, and on this study, they tried to give customers 24 types of cheese, 24 types of cheese, and 6 types of cheese. And after trying 6 types of cheese, customers are willing to buy a lot more, because they don't when you have so many options, you don't know what to buy, because probably the taste is similar and it confuses more. But when you have less options, you can choose between them. And I agree, you need to learn customers to understand. Probably your customers need these options, so it depends. And I have the question about personalization. You mentioned that you need to highlight important things to your customers, and but I still get every single day, not only me, many others, a lot of propositions about guest posting, link building, many other stuff. And I usually start my day by cleaning email, like 50 emails with all these propositions. I lead them to my spam inbox, the best place where they can spend time together. So yeah, my spam inbox loves all these propositions. And I'm interested about how to learn customers, how to personalize experience before trying to sell anything.
Figure out what they need. So there's a bunch of different ways. I don't even know where to start. I think that the concept that I'd urge people to think about is like, how can you identify different needs? So is that by tagging different sites and saying like, okay, I have 4 different offerings, and I can see that my customers are going mainly to this one offering. Then like you could say, okay, that's the area that I will prioritize with my customer base, or with my prospects that are coming in. But the other thing that you could do with this information is also see like, okay, like these people, like where do they roam the most, and then start the conversation from there. So if you have, let's say, 4 different services, you sell phones, you sell computers, you sell AirPods and accessories. If people are searching on the AirPod section, like that's where you start the conversation and figure out like, okay, what more do I need to provide them? So are they browsing certain pages? Okay, what would typically come next in a sequence if you're looking for this? That's when you start the personalization. The other thing could also be like simple things such as like use a form to identify the needs. Like why are you here? Oh, okay. Are you looking for XYZ? I'm looking for Z. Okay. Within Z, what are some of the things and challenges that you have? And then from there on, start to personalize the journey. So if you're in a, like say, regular sales-led cycle, then if a customer wants computers, then the sales team does not go out and pitch AirPods, accessories, phones, and computers. They just focus on the computer, and then they figure out like, how do I like ask the right questions to the customer that will narrow that sale down to success. Because that's really bottom line. You want to start that first conversation and get that first sale in, and then you can focus on everything else. And you'll probably be able to, with very simple analytics tools, to see like, okay, when most of our customers, they first buy a laptop, and then after they buy a laptop, they tend to buy AirPods, and then after they have AirPods, then that's when they start buying the phones. Then you can also like use that information to kind of create that sequence, so that you spend your resources in the places where you have the highest opportunity for success.
Yeah, awesome. I have the question about you, about your experience. When you share all these valuable insights, I can feel this confidence. You know the topic. You spend so much time by learning, practicing all of these things. So I have some students in my network who are looking for ways how to learn, how to start learning today, because marketing is a quickly changing world. So you can't learn something and use all the time. You need to adapt, to go ahead, to many things. So let's imagine you started from scratch without any experience, knowledge, skills, completely from scratch. What will you do today to learn more about marketing?
Oh, what would I do? So the thing, like, I'd probably try to figure out why I'm so interested in marketing, and why I want to learn about it. Because like marketing is super broad. You have so many disciplines, and the disciplines are getting more and more specific as time passes by, because like we get better at the different disciplines. So I think I try to figure out like, okay, why does it excite me? Why does it interest me? And then I'd start there. So let's say, for example, product marketing. I hear that all the time. I really want to become a product marketer. I hear that there's a big demand in the market, which there is. And I hear that they're like really well paid. So how do I become a PMM? Then just by having that information, you'd probably be able to, with a simple Google search, to figure out, okay, who are the market PMM influencers out there, who's doing something really cool. There's several communities like ShareBird, Product Marketing Alliance, where you can engage with an audience that is highly skilled, and also get access to content that is very valuable. There's various courses that you can take on the topic, and then you can kind of dive in and understand, okay, which aspects of product marketing gets me excited. What are some of the things that are most important to me? And then you'll very quickly find very cool people, influencers, who will guide you in the right direction. There's a ton of content on Twitter, on LinkedIn, if you look for it. But I think that's the best way. And then another thing I'd probably do is start to reach out to some people. I would not start with the influencers because they probably get a ton of requests already. But I would start like asking, like, hey, I've been looking at this. Would you be up? And I really admire your work. Would you be interested in having a cup of coffee? I have this problem. Or just ask a simple question like, hey, I saw you talk about this. Would you be interested in like helping me with this problem that I have? Because often those things, when people come asking for help, we as humans are wired to want to solve things. So having someone asking for help and then you being able to give the solution, you'll by reflex just fire off an email or something, and then you've got a contact. You've connected. You've had a conversation. Another thing I would say is network as much as you can. Like ask people if they want to chat for an hour about product marketing, or half an hour, 15 minutes, whatever. Because I think you'll find that many marketers are genuinely interested in passing on their knowledge. We're all excited about this. And some of the best conversations I've had is with people who don't necessarily have the same experience, but they come in with a different point of view. And so there's not all these like presumptions about how things work, which we tend to get the more experience we have. It's just genuine curiosity, like, hey, could you do this? And then someone would, like, if you're open-minded, you'd start to think about it. Then maybe there's like I hadn't thought about that angle because I wasn't seeing the world from your view. So I think those are some of the things. There's a ton of books that are really good. Like one of my personal favorites is Job to Be Done Theory, I think it's called, by Jim Kolvak, which gives a very good concept of how to think about problems. There's also similar vein, similar topic, When Coffee and Kale Competes. It basically talks about like the products that we have in the world. They all do similar things, and sometimes like coffee and kale can actually be competing against each other because the job to be done is something that both of them can solve. And that's some of the things where, like, if you think about the world from that lens, then all of a sudden you start to think more about the thing that the customer is trying to overcome or trying to do. And if you think about that, you think about the customer experience as your default, you will be a better marketer because you will start to speak to them from that lens. So instead of trying to sell your product with the means that you have, you start to think about, okay, how can this product help you do the things that you want to do? And when you do that, it's not a sale. You're helping.
Yeah.
And people appreciate that.
Nice. Yeah. Love it. Love it. And when you mention how much information we can get on Twitter, LinkedIn, and made this deep brief, I got it. Wow. Yeah, it's a lot. I know about that. And I usually read a lot of blog posts, but I can't read a teeny percent of all new blog posts that are coming every single day. So I need to choose between them. I read headlines and okay, I can take it. I not have time. I don't have time for others. So yeah, it depends. And I have the final question about the future in marketing because many things are coming. AI, it's a hot topic today, and many people can tell AI will replace us. You, me, anyone. So your forecast predictions about AI and how to adapt today to the possible future that definitely will change the world with new technologies.
Yeah, I'm super curious to see how AI is deployed in both marketing, but also everywhere else. Specifically for marketing, I mean, it'll make our jobs, I don't want to say easier, but it's going to enable us to do much more with less. So I think, like, hopefully, what I hope will happen is that your marketing teams get smaller. Because I think many organizations have this idea of like just bloating the organization, having someone cover basically everything from A to Z. Not because it works, but because we have to, because our competitors are doing it. So I saw our competitor on TikTok. Let's launch a TikTok campaign. Why? Like, do we know if it works? I hope that AI puts us in the driver's seat. So instead of being a passenger and just being taken places, I hope it puts us in a place where we can execute on so many things that we will get more time to think about what we're actually trying to do. So get more strategic, think more long term, think more about the customer experience. Because at the end of the day, with a great customer experience, you will win. If like it's just like, and I think you can increase the quality of customer experiences with AI. You just have to think through how you go about it. The problem is, like, we all default to like, okay, the fastest thing that's first in front of us, so let's write 10,000 blog posts because we can just have ChatGPT write it, right? But if you really look over the content that it spits out, like, while it is great or good, it is not great. So it all has the same kind of structure to it, and then you can teach it to write in a different way, but without being able to prompt the AI in that way, you will look the same as everyone else. So I think the creativity is really an important element here. Like, we don't want everyone to just, hey, write an article on 10 best things for my towel. Or could you sell this product to this buying persona? Like, I think our efforts should be more focused on, okay, what is the experience that we want to build? How can we prompt the AI to be different than the rest of the market? Because like, I mean, we all have LinkedIn. We all get tons of those like direct requests. Hey, you're part of my network. I thought, or I'd like to like connect with you and have you be part of my network. We don't know the person, but it's 100% a salesperson that wants to either expand their network, expand their reach, or pitch something to you, which neither of us want. But if that person had instead spent some more time figuring out, okay, what do I need? What are some of the things that you can help me with? then I would be totally open to have a conversation, because it's otherwise it's just like this flat email that everyone in the world gets. I'm not interested in that. I don't want that.
Nice. Yeah, yeah. I couldn't agree more with that, because I know AI is a must-have, but and I'm pretty sure that without AI, it's hard to handle marketing. Yeah, today it's a must-have, but I agree. AI is not creative, because you can imagine that thousand others can do it as well. So if you generate content with AI, you can teach AI to change something, but in the end, the context is the same with thousand others that can create the same text to teach AI, and that's why it's not creative, because it's generic. It's creative only for the first one who generated the text, but for the second and the rest, it's not creative, and people hate it. People hate to get the same message. It's like to watch a movie with the same plot. I often get review about a new movie, nothing special. I watched many other the same movies, so yeah, you need to be creative to bring something new, and AI can help just to save your time. Yeah, it's not replacement. Probably, I'm not sure, but I think writers will be more editors and controllers, not simple writing. It doesn't mean that writing will be dead, but many writers will be control and handle the process. And when you edit, you can create something new and more creative. Yeah, I love it, love it. Vakis, it's a big pleasure to get in my show, to learn from you. Tell our audience the best way how to learn more about you, how to follow you, how to reach out to you.
I mean, I'm on LinkedIn and Twitter, Vakis R. Feel free to shoot me a line if you have any questions, or if you want to connect. I'm here. So I think that, like, I don't post a lot on social media. For me, I mean, it's just time I do not have. Probably a bad thing, but I prefer spending my time differently. But if I can help in any way, if your company is thinking about like positioning itself differently, feel free to reach out. I'm here.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I agree, about the time. If I have time to post 24 times a day, I probably do it. But I have no this time. It's a pity I have no this time. So because many things to do, many other priorities. So yeah, I agree with that. But when you cooperate with customers directly, so why not? Yeah, you can spend this time because of money. Okay, guys, thanks a lot for watching, listening us. Vakis, thanks again. A big pleasure. Love all your valuable insights. I'm pretty sure that audience will love it as well. And guys, you can find the links to Vakis Rigas in the description below. Listen us on Apple, Google, Spotify, and see you next time.